And right now on News 4 at 6, Election Day is here, and we have you covered. We're hearing the latest numbers on voter turnout and some problems that voters face today. News 4 is your local election headquarters.
And it has certainly been a windy afternoon. That's going to continue overnight tonight. We'll check in on the wind gusts and what's left of the rain chances this evening coming up.
And all eyes are on the 27th Congressional District. One of the biggest races is between Congressman Chris Collins and Democratic challenger Nate McMurray. We're looking at how close this race can be and how the congressman's federal charges may play a role.
Live in high definition, this is Western New York's news leader. Now, News 4 at 6.
And right now at 6, an eventful election day in the weather department. As you went to the polls, you may have noticed a lot of wind, maybe some rain. Here in North Buffalo, we saw everything: wind, rain, and sunshine. Our chief meteorologist, Todd Santos, has been watching that.
And not only watching, we can hear it, can't we, Todd?
Yeah, we can hear it, especially with the tower, one of the tallest structures in Buffalo. Just behind our building, the wind just goes howling through it from time to time. It's been a really moody day. I mean, I don't even have to tell you that. We just saw all of that in that montage of photos there. This shot also tells another piece of the story where, at least off Erie Basin Marina, the water rise has been pretty substantial. The Bird Island Pier that runs underneath the Peace Bridge is water actually overtopping that. We'll talk more about that piece coming up. It's actually part of a lakeshore flood warning that goes through early tomorrow morning. I want to touch on one, though, that's going to basically impact most of Western New York, and it's the high wind warnings, these areas in gold that stretch all the way down to Chautauqua County, and the wind advisories. The biggest difference between these, they both expire at 6 in the morning. The biggest difference is that the gust potential here is about 60 miles per hour, gust potential here about 50 miles per hour. For those of you outside of the advisories, you still may find some gusts into the mid and upper 40 mile per hour range. So no matter what, windy, just takes different things to trigger each one of these. Niagara Falls, within the last hour, had 49 miles per hour. This hour, 51 miles per hour. So pretty substantial on the wind gust side of things. Just be ready for this as you step out the door. I've never heard of this being a reason why people don't vote, but as far as driving over the Skyway and high-profile vehicles, things like that, you may want to keep that in mind, driving with two hands on the wheel, that kind of thing, because these gusts, at times you don't really notice, then all of a sudden you start to feel it. Looking at temperatures, we're cooling down a little bit. We actually finally started to see at least a couple upper 40s, especially down in the southern Erie County hills. Chautauqua County, there are a couple spots as well, but for the most part, around the 50-degree mark. Pretty mild as far as this time of year is concerned to head out and vote. And the rain chances, we had the more widespread, heavier soaking rain early this morning. So now it's broken up into a few limited showers that even on this wider view actually look like, I don't know, I'd say more bark than bite. I mean, a lot of this stuff is really light and short-lived. I mean, we had a couple of these work their way across Grand Island that at any one given point, say if you were in the Tops parking lot, I don't know why that came to mind, but if that's where you were, it'd be raining there for a minute or less. I mean, very short time frame type stuff. So certainly keep that in mind as you head out. For the most part, quiet conditions. This evening, we'll still deal with a few showers here and there. The background looks more aggressive because it's the wind plus the rain. But, at times, they only briefly line up. There's a look at our temperatures overnight tonight. We'll check in on the next couple of days and some bigger changes later this week coming up. Don, Jackie?
Thank you, Todd. And the question is, was the weather a factor at the polls today? And we're hoping the Board of Elections can help us with that answer tonight.
That's right. We have live team coverage of the elections tonight, from the poll numbers to the poll problems and the controversial 27th district race. News 4 is your local election headquarters. We're going to start now with Shannon Smith. She's live at the Board of Elections in downtown Buffalo. Shannon?
Don and Jackie, don't let, it seems kind of quiet here, but don't let that fool you. There's a lot of excitement here at the Board of Elections as far as voter turnout is concerned. They're expecting this to be one of the highest when it comes to midterm elections. In fact, I just checked and they said that now 50% of registered voters in Erie County have cast their ballot. Now, there's nearly 600,000 registered voters in Erie County. Today's turnout is expected to be higher than the average gubernatorial race, but turnout won't be as high as a presidential election. Now, I am told that they have noticed a lot more new voters this year. In fact, Election Commissioner Ralph Moore says in the last month they have had over 5,000 new registered voters. Officials say they've already seen more voters in the suburbs today than in the city.
All of those areas, Amherst, Clarence, Orchard Park, those have higher than normal turnout, and those are in the hotly contested races.
One thing Board of Elections has received many calls about today, those stickers. You know, when you would go to the polls and get a sticker. Well, I'm told that the State Board of Elections provided stickers, but this year they didn't. And the County Board of Elections, well, they didn't have the money for them this year, but they say it is something that they're looking into. Now, I'm told that they have had a couple of problems across the county today, just calls of paper jams, and even they've had a couple of replacements of polling machines, but some voters have run into some issues. News 4's Al Vauders has more on that. Al?
Well, Shannon, it was discussed earlier in the 5:30 news, but the most common problem that poll workers have been dealing with, ballots getting stuck in the voting machines. Elections officials we talked to said they have a specific protocol for malfunctioning machines, and it seems they've had plenty of practice. There was a line in the middle of the afternoon here at the Cleveland Hill United Methodist Church. Poll workers told us they're seeing a lot more young people than in years past. While we were there, ballots were getting stuck in one of the voting machines. When that happens, District Chairwoman Dolores Ghostin told us the ballot is set aside and they issue an emergency ballot. Then they call the Board of Elections downtown.
We call downtown. Downtown sends someone out to unlock the machine and take the ballots out. And in the meantime, we use our emergency bin to put our ballots in. At the end of the day, those emergency ballots will be counted back into the machine.
So downtown, do they have crews that are on standby all the time?
Yes. Yes, they do. And we have a special number that we call.
Well, Dolores also told us they had 2 incidents of the malfunctioning machines as of this afternoon. They only affected about a half dozen ballots in all, and most of the folks that got stuck in line, well, she said they didn't seem to mind the wait. Now, polling places we checked with seem to be following the national trend, a heavy turnout for a midterm election, but in some sections, it was possibly surpassing the votes who turn out for the presidential elections. Al Vauders, News 4 at 6.
Thank you, Al. Very revealing. Now, one of the most anticipated and controversial races in our area is for the 27th Congressional District. Congressman Chris Collins faces Democratic challenger Nate McMurray and Reform Party candidate Larry Piegza. All eyes will be on the results there tonight.
And our own Chris Servatas continues our election coverage tonight with more on this race and what we could see from the candidates. Chris?
Hi, Don. The reason this race between incumbent Chris Collins and Nate McMurray is so close is undoubtedly the federal indictment filed against Collins on August 8th. He's accused of insider trading and lying to the FBI. He then suspended his campaign, only to announce about a month later that he would actually stay on the ballot and seek his 4th term in Congress. McMurray, meanwhile, the Democratic Grand Island town supervisor, wasn't given much of a chance until after Collins was charged. He was in Hamburg earlier today greeting voters. We'll note that McMurray is not eligible to vote in this race because he does not live in the district. Grand Island is outside of the district, which has a strong Republican lean. McMurray has had to try to appeal to that conservative base over the past few months.
I won't let you down. I never stole a pack of gum. And I'm gonna put my full heart into this, and I'm gonna listen to everybody. I don't care what party you're from. I'm gonna listen to all people and try to do my best to really represent the people of this region. You work hard, you do the right thing, you take care of your families, and I'm gonna bring that same spirit to Washington.
Meanwhile, Congressman Collins has been quiet today. He did tweet that he's been campaigning in Niagara, Wyoming, and Genesee counties. His campaign did not let us know when he would be voting in his hometown of Clarence, though, today, which is rather unusual. Most polling in this race does show that Collins has a slight lead. It also shows he has more of an advantage outside Erie County. Well, inside Erie County, he and McMurray are about neck and neck. It's important to note because about 40% of registered voters in this district live in Erie County. Now, Marissa Perlman is in the newsroom with more on an unusual request McMurray's campaign made today. Marissa.
Well, Chris, it's a unique request made from the McMurray campaign in the 11th hour on Election Day. His campaign requested to impound all ballot boxes across all 8 districts. Now, impounding ballot boxes means election commissioners would need to secure a local sheriff's deputy to lock up their election headquarters every night and then open them up again every morning. The request is is unique, but election leaders tell us they have seen this before. The Erie County Board of Elections called in Supreme Court Judge Dennis Ward to oversee this petition this afternoon. Then election commissioners from across Western New York were conferenced in by phone so they could weigh in on this hearing. Nate McMurray's lawyer says his team wants the added security in order to prevent what he calls election irregularities, calling this a close and important race. But Judge Ward denied their request, saying this would just open up Pandora's box for elections moving forward.
It is just a kind of an assumption that it's a close race, and I think if that were the basis for imposing some new type of restrictions on the boards of elections, then every election and every candidacy would, at least in theory, think that, well, theirs is their close election, and therefore that we're going to get a court to upset the the statutory scheme.
Now, on the call, State Board of Elections leaders called the temporary restraining order unnecessary. Every county election commissioner on that call also agreed. Many saying this addendum would just slow down their workflow. They also pointed to security protocol already in place, including securing every vote behind lock and key every night. Marissa Perlman, News 4.
Thank you, Marissa. We want to let you know that we're also watching the congressional race between Republican Tom Reed and Democrat Tracy Matrano. That's in the 23rd District. We'll have those results for you as well tonight on News 4 at 10 and 11.
And News 4 is your local election headquarters. Our coverage starts right after the polls close at 9 o'clock. We will be doing a live election show that will stream online at WIVB.com. And then we invite you to join us on News 4 at 10 and 11.